Hey guys, thanks for checking out my latest video. Hi peeps. I didn't do a video last week with the sort of projections and forecast. I only did a recap. But this week I'm going to here's a recap and some news and some analysis, and then I'm going to also do a preview of the Thursday to Sunday type slate later tonight. The reason why is I didn't do one last week on Thursday or Saturday, Sunday, and then I ended up having my worst week ever. So I think I need to go ahead and try to do one here this week and see if I can turn my fortunes around in ReignMakers. So let's just go over what happened last week in week 8 as we head into week 9, starting tonight on Thursday. And like I said, I'll go into the games and projections in the next video. But the big thing we saw this week, one of the big things, besides lots of chalk and high scores, was actually on ReignMakers, the minnows or the little fish did very well in the contest as far as winning them. So it wasn't a week for the whales, and this is actually something that encouraged me a lot to keep going with ReignMakers, at least for a few more weeks, because I had such a poor week that I'm starting to think maybe I should cash out my win. I've already won quite a bit between ReignMakers and DFS, and but then the last couple weeks haven't gone good. So part of me is going to see how it goes the next 1 to 3 weeks. And I may end up selling more of my cards and cashing more out type of thing, so I don't give up all my gains. But let's see. The big news is they updated the superstar list, which they had mentioned they would do for week 9. And they didn't add a lot of names, which was good in some ways, I guess. They added Hurts, Burrow, Chubb, Barkley, and Hill as superstars, but they removed more than they added. So they removed Aaron Rodgers, Cook, Najee Harris, Taylor, Lamb, Chase with the injury, I think is why they did that, and Debo. Also, they don't want to have a quarterback wide receiver pairing from the same team being superstars, although they will have quarterback tight end ones, which anybody who has, Mahomes, Kelsey knows, and Andrews, Jackson knows. So it still makes the, with not having Diggs on there, it still makes that Allen Diggs such a strong pairing and so expensive this year so far, although, whether it continues at that rate remains to be seen. But this does affect things quite a bit going forward. Some of these guys are off this week. They didn't add a few names which are now becoming key players as far as non-superstars for the strategy portion of it. Something else that I haven't checked all the tournaments for this week, but it looks like they've removed all the prize card payouts, perhaps in an attempt to limit supply going forward. But for whatever reason, this is a negative thing on the whole, unless they're increasing the cash payout, how far down they do cash payouts, which I don't think they have. I haven't double checked all this. I've been a little busier lately. That's why I haven't done as many videos or many spreadsheets on this. But like I said, I'm going to do another one today. But there is still a lot. There's still a lot of weeks left in this. I mean, we got 17 plus weeks of NFL football slates and playoffs. So we're not even quite halfway yet. So it's, and prices went down this week for the first time that I noticed in a while. So I actually bought a few things. So I'll show you that real quick, but let's just look at the results from last week real quick. So the week 8 core and rare fiat winners both had identical lineups, which was Curry, Hopkins pair, Arizona stack, McCaffrey superstar, AJ Brown, and Kamara. And these scored whopping amounts of 192. So it was a big high scoring week with a lot of big names coming in. You can even see here 10% of the people in that had that, which is a high percentage in this type of game. Now, the interesting thing here is where we get into the theme of what happened this week in terms of small fry players won big tournaments. So this is information from luckytrader.com. And the marketplace spend, when I looked at it more and more, the marketplace spend on there isn't quite the most important thing, really, because people spend so much on packs. So just to give an idea, though, this is like their total floor value, okay? So the guy who won this one, he only owns 62 cards, and he's only basically has spent $300 to $400 on the product. So he may even be a new person who came in, Super Bowl champs Bengals. Of course, I am a Bengals fan, and it may have been somebody who came in and bought a bunch of the best core cards, and he won $5,000. This one who won the rare has a floor value of 8,000, so it's quite a bit more than his marketplace spend. So he obviously probably spent a lot on packs. Has 461 cards, won 10,000. And then the elite winner who won 100,000, that was 187.1. So that one actually had the Hurts and AJ Brown stack, because Hurts wasn't a superstar at that time. Henry was his superstar. And then he had Hill and Kamara, 187, so 192, but still a pretty high score. You can see about 10 points to like 10th place. That's 10, 15 points even going down here. He won 100,000. That person has only 127 cards. So they're pretty concentrated, I would say, in the elite and buying the best of the best type of things, or the bet, sort of like the best 2 and 3. My view is if you buy like the best with a little more depth, but still buying the top tier guys when you can. And it looks like they've spent somewhere $20,000. So again, not a whale. On the deep ones, again, you have another really small fry winning the deep core for 2,000. So this person only owns 60 cards and has spent somewhere around $300-400, it looks like, on the product. So again, could be somebody new or somebody who just bought good cards, what they thought were good cards, and keeps putting them into lineups every week, and maybe has like 3 or 4 good lineups type of thing. And that score was 242, which is high, and that was 226. This person has spent 6,000 to 10,000, has 280 cards. That's sort of a bigger card total. This one didn't really have a stack. I'm sorry, no, this one had the Philly wide receiver, the Miami wide receivers, but no Tua. And then Brady, McCaffrey, superstar Kamara, Diggs, so big names. Ertz, New England kicker, Dallas defense. This one had I don't even know if they had a stack. I don't think they had a stack either. This one had the wide receivers stacked, Hill and Waddle. So this one had Murray, Henry, superstar, Kamara, Diggs, Waddle, Hurst, tight end, New England kicker, Dallas defense, and Saquon, who is now a superstar, by the way. As you saw in the earlier thing, Chubb, Saquon, Tyreek Hill, Burrow, Hurts. I can't remember if there was another one that are now superstars, but then there's quite a bit more that were removed, actually. So then moving on to the elite deep. So this person, their marketplace spend's only showing 1,300, but their total value is 14,000. So they've probably spent quite a bit on packs, so probably 10 to 12, 14,000. They have 553 cards, which is a lot. 228 total, which is a lot lower from the last one, from the core level. They had the Tua Hill stack, then Henry, superstars, Stevenson, AJ Brown, Irv Smith, Dallas kicker, Jets defense, and Hopkins. So the point cutoffs for the lowest prize, this is one of the reasons I was real discouraged, was how these rose so much, but that could have to do with that more that the week came in really high scoring with really big names, doing the chalk sort of names coming in really high, and if you didn't have them, you were behind the 8 ball, and just jack people's prices in general. So maybe we'll see this come down a bit. Of course, they changed the spots as far as I know on the packs, so the actual amounts to cash are still going to be high. But it sort of doesn't really apply to this. But you can see this went up 10 points. This went up 11 from last week. That went up almost 10, up 12, up 17, and that went up 25. So on the Elite Deep, you needed 140, which is a pretty high score to cash to even get a rare pack. So this is discouraging. We'll see going forward how this plays out, particularly for my results, and how much I'm going to continue with this going forward. But again, I'm profitable, so I really can just sit on these, but we'll see. I've tended to be a flipper. when at times, and it's actually kind of hurt me the last few weeks. It didn't hurt me in the beginning of the season. So anyway, you can see here the winning totals on the fiats in previous weeks. So it was the second highest total. We've had two really high totals, and the rest have sort of been 145 to 170-ish. This one came in at 192. They had an Arizona stack, 2. On the rares, same thing, came in really high. On the elites, again, came in the highest. I don't have week 1 and 2 on there, but 187. They had a Philly stack. They had a different one, too. So there has tended to be a stack that's won on these. But, to some degree, I'm backing a little bit away from stacking mine this week because it hasn't worked quite as well for me as if I had just put the straight up best players in there. That doesn't necessarily mean I can win one, but if it depends on the wide receiver, quarterback pairing type thing. But I'm moving a little bit back from that this week. And on the core, on the deep, we also saw the highest total to win, and that only had a 2 stack, I believe. I don't even think it had another game. So this was really more just the best players or individual players with 1 stack, and came in really high. And again, I'm going to do another video here soon that shows the what games are coming up with the totals and projections of best lineups type of thing from a premium site that I've been using. What their information is as of Thursday midday. It does change with news and as time goes along. So I may do another one by Sunday with updated information. But I had my worst week as far as cashing by far. I only cashed $13, so like $15 plus 6 cards, which is a lot. But my previous low week had been 30, and it's been going down here. I had the one big week. That could have been a big week. That could have been a $500 week if I had put it in the right tournament, the main tournament. And that one I was extremely close. I was less than a half point from $1,000 and very close to a $2,000 cash. But this is really discouraging. But then seeing that some of the smaller people did well this week is keeping me willing to try this a few more weeks and see. I want to, now the thing is these here like were in the money and then fell out at the last minute type thing. I had several of these so I was showing, $30, $40 ahead or return until like almost the end of the Monday night game. So I sort of got screwed over, and I just had some bad luck there of what came in late. And I even bought some cards for the late games on Sunday Monday to add to my deep lineups, and those didn't work out. So it could have been better. Like I said, if I get a $10, $20 ones in these, which I normally get, then that would have put it back up to a little more reasonable total of $30 to $40. But that's what got me really frustrated. And you can see I didn't on the rare fiats, I had 2 come in the 90s, which is decent. But the cores, I didn't cash in any of those fiats. And then my deep lineups didn't come in very high. Showdowns, yeah, like I was in the money on more of these. This one was $20 the whole time, and at the very end of the game, it went down. So I won 10 on that, and won 3 on that, and 3 6-packs. And again, this doesn't count all the cards, but so far this year I've made $910. And I only put like about 400 total into ReignMakers to begin with, and I have quite a few cards. So I was looking at what I bought and sold. This was another week where I had limit prices already set on some running backs, and people came in and snapped them up, which is understandable, but I did sell them for profits. And I do own another Etienne, and these are cores. Selling the Pollard, the week before they had come in and snapped up. They've snapped up a lot of my running backs, basically. And it sucks in some degree because, they have come in that week that they snapped them up. It didn't happen earlier in the season. Like I had 3 or 4 Jacobs that all sold, and he had a monster week, but then he didn't have a good week this past week. So we'll see. Again, those are pretty good profits, but would I like to have those players? Yeah. So we'll see. None of my more expensive cards sold this week, my rares, and I have quite a few rares now. We'll see how it turns out the next few weeks. I may start just selling a lot. I was looking back at what I bought. The prize packs weren't great, but they weren't, because I got a Devontae Adams out of one, a core, but that's my 4th one of him, and he had a total flop out last week. He was projected very high on the site I've been using. He's projected high again this week, so I'm really hoping he turns around. That's actually one of the reasons why I didn't do well, is when I had 3 Adams going and he did so bad in all what I consider my best lineups. Then I got a rare out of one, but it was a Bellinger who has an eye socket injury and no timetable on return. So that was probably one of the worst rares you could get. I got a Zerline kicker. It's a little bit useful, but that's my second one to him. And I got a Robinson running back on Washington, which is, okay. Then the other two were really bad. As far as what I bought, these here I bought after I decided to keep doing this, after Monday's games. I got a Murray of the Deadfellas Halloween one for 15. Again, he's the top non-superstar quarterback now, period. So if you are looking to bolster your things, prices are good right now. This is the first sort of real dip I think we've seen. Probably a lot of people got discouraged this past weekend by the changes going on. But there's still a lot of football left with prizes every week. So you have to weigh the balance for yourself. Anyway, I bought one of those for 15. I bought a Justin Jefferson rare superstar for 50. Now, of course, he can't be using the elite, which depresses his value a little bit, but on a relative basis, that was a very good deal. And I also actually own a Cousins rare, so that goes with that well. And I own Dalvin Cooks as well, which nicely got taken off the superstar. That I'm not necessarily going to put him with Jefferson, but then I brought a St. Brown, again, another non-superstar wide receiver who should pick up good numbers. Bought a Lockett. He's been projected high every week. My own Lockett's and Metcalfs. Previously, now this one's looking like a good buy as well. The Foreman from Carolina. He's still cheap. Got it for 23. He's been putting up big numbers. Now, who knows with Chuba Hubbard and all that stuff, but good running back, rare, putting up good points. He was close to winning lineups last week, or he may have been in some winning lineups. I bought a Miles Sanders. That's gone up ahead of the showdown. I bought a Benjamin. I can't remember if that was for a showdown or not. That one I'm not real happy with that buy because I own a bunch of Connors. I might even got it as a continued handcuff because I own several Connors and he hasn't been playing. And I'm like, well, I need, DJ Moore's cheap, $4. Dobbs is projected high with Aaron Rodgers this week, actually, depending on if Lazard returns. But I own Rodgers and I own Lazard, so just added a cheap Dobbs. I added a Singletary. I think that was that in one of the showdown games? I can't even remember now. Basically, in my deep lineups, I left a spot open to add players from the Sunday and Monday games for deep lineups that were close, and several of them were close. So I added a few guys like that, I believe, but they didn't actually help me. And I fell out of the money on a couple, which was very frustrating. And then a Zerline. All right, so like I said, I'm going to do another video maybe right away here, going over more what's coming up for week 9, because a lot of interesting things going on, a lot of setups going on. So thanks for checking out the video, peeps. And appreciate the likes, subscribes, and comments. I'm going to go ahead and continue doing these. If I decide to bail out of Reignmakers, I will tell everybody. I haven't decided that yet. I want to see how it continues going. Continues going. Is that the right word? And like I said, seeing that some smaller people won big tournaments this week, and no whales won any tournaments of those main ones I showed. What I would call whales, because the highest spender I think was 20 or 30 grand, which is a lot, but none of the monster people won, and some very small people who might even be new won, which is encouraging to the smaller fry like me. All right, thanks for checking out the video, and keep an eye peeled for my next one coming later today.